Hi, welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Today we're going to talk about a word that seems to be surfacing all over the internet, and that word was discovered by our next guest. Welcome to the show, all the way from Canada, by way of Zoom, Esther B. Welcome to the show, Esther. What's going on?
Thank you so much for having me. Yes, that word is in fact ageism.
And you discovered that word yourself, but we're not going to get into how you discovered it right yet. Let's go right into it. Tell a little bit about who you are, Esther.
I am Esther Brzezinski, aka Esther B. Live in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. I am 66 years young. I am proud to say my age. And I pivoted from being an entrepreneur to getting into the entertainment industry. I'm a voice actor. I'm an actor, and I am a content creator as well. So,
man, you're a baby boomer, right? Is that what it's called, a baby boomer?
I am a baby boomer, kind of on the younger side of the baby boomer end of things.
To the young viewers, since we're going to talk about how you discover ageism, what is a baby boomer for the ones that don't know what a baby boomer actually is?
I think it's people who were born between 1945 to 1960. Mm-hmm. So it's that demographic, and they're called baby boomers because it was mostly after World War II. There was a great boom of infants being born, and they called that demographic baby boomers. So here we are. We're still alive and well. There's a lot of us out there.
We talked for quite a little bit of time before the show, and your life is just like everybody's life, truly filled with impactful stories. Let's go down your childhood. Let's talk about you and your childhood before we get into the more impactful moment of your childhood, about discovering what your mom and dad went through. Tell the viewers about what your childhood was like in Canada.
Well, I was one of two siblings. My parents were Holocaust survivors. They came to Canada in their early 20s, and they immigrated from, my mother from Belarus, my father from Poland, and they actually met here at the night school in Montreal. And it was impactful in the sense that they not only were immigrants, but they were survivors of the Holocaust. My mother lived in the woods, hid in the woods. For 2 years, my father went to concentration camp. So I came from a family or parents who were essentially survivors. And my childhood was, I guess, a normal childhood, but there was that sort of cloud, I would have to say, of the fact that they were survivors, that they experienced the Holocaust, and it was sort of always there. It was always felt in the household, one way or another.
How was it felt in the house? From your viewpoint, when you say it was felt in the house, I mean, because I'm pretty sure, coming from that, you don't really want to expose your kids to it. You want your kids to always do better. But did they keep it from you guys, and how did they keep it from you? How did you know that it was still in the house? Because I'm pretty sure they didn't just come right out and just explode all this information to you, because there's a time and a period to do that.
Yeah, they did not. It was more like nuanced little things being said. It was just a feeling. They did not tell my brother and I a lot about their experiences, just sort of generalizations.
Right.
In fact, my own children found out more. But yes, from that, we did learn just through osmosis about resilience, about surviving, about strength. This is something that we sort of had instilled in us. And it sort of like helped us become the people that we became, because of that. And yes, it was very much stressed to do well in school, to absolutely have an education, to have a profession, that, it was important to succeed. Okay. That, we had made it, they had made it through, and now we had to almost provide and make up for all the lives that were lost. It was almost like that sort of burden, and also a positive thing that we were we had to make up for all those lives that were lost. So we had to succeed. We had to be successful. And it's kind of a mindset that's instilled, and it's not obvious. It was sort of inadvertently, but it was definitely important.
When you say they had to survive, your mom was in the woods and your dad, tell a little bit about their journey. And what I'm going with this is history right here. This is your history. You are the child of history right now.
Yeah, I'm a child of Holocaust survivors.
When they shared this with you, how old were you when it started to really become clairvoyant on what they went through? About how old were you?
I think I was about 8 when it started to make more sense. 8, 9 years old, that I started to truly understand.
Take me through your dad. Take me through. Let's go through each one of them. Go through your dad's story. So the viewers can understand what resilience in the face of adversity and trauma beyond compare. He had to be young. Your mom had to be young. Let's start with your dad first.
Yeah, my father was a young teen. He left. They basically took their family, put them what they called the ghetto. They put him in a ghetto. It was the Warsaw ghetto that he lived for a few years with a brother and his father. His father was a very religious man, so he spent a lot of time reading, praying, reading the Talmud. And my father actually was the one who would go out and look for food, get food. He was the guy on the streets, and he had to use his wit and his ability to survive to bring to where they lived at the time food. And from there, he was transported to a concentration camp. It was a smaller one. He did pass through Auschwitz, but because he was young and strong, he was sent to a worker camp, and he survived because he was young and strong. So they put him to work. But he often used to tell us as children about, if we didn't like what we were eating, he would say, I would have a piece of bread and a potato. And I would think it was like a king's supper, like to let us know, to appreciate everything that we had, because he had so little and he survived on so little. But he didn't talk a lot about how he survived.
Right.
It was just he made it through because he was young and strong. But I don't know the details, unfortunately.
Did he tell you when the moment set in for him to actually start the pilgrimage to freedom?
He didn't talk about it much. I know that the U.S. Army came in and freed all the people that were in his camp. I know that he was then sent to, I wouldn't call it a detention camp, but another sort of camp for refugees before he came to Canada, because he had relatives here. So they had to sponsor him. And then he came to Canada and got a job, and then eventually met my mother. My mother, on the other hand, was several years younger, and her and her two brothers rather, managed to escape from their home. Actually, a neighbor helped them, and they ran into the woods. And apparently there were a lot of young children who hid in the woods from the Germans at the time. And she lived there for 2 years. One of her brothers passed away in her arms from living in the woods. And she didn't talk about it much. She would bring it up here and there, but we didn't have a lot of knowledge. I know that she became friends with one of the men who actually found her in the woods and freed her. I mean, she found him years later in Montreal, and they became friends. So, and he was a soldier, and he helped her escape. Mm-hmm. But again, she didn't talk about it much. She didn't talk about the experience much. But we knew that it happened, and it was, every once in a while it was brought up in conversation again, like, oh, I lived in the wilderness for 2 years, so you can do this. Mm-hmm. Sort of a statement of, be strong, because look how strong we had to be to survive. So that should not be an issue for you. As you become an adult, going into leaving the house and so forth, what part of that message of resilience that your mom and dad had to
to deal with and to raise you and your siblings? What did you carry into your relationship?
I think I learned survival. I think I learned resilience. Interestingly enough, my husband, who's now my ex-husband, his parents were Holocaust survivors as well. And
Wow.
we sort of found each other because we understood each other.
Right.
We had the same background. We just got it. We didn't have to talk about it. There was no need to explain, well, this is how my mother is and my father. And so, yeah, and sometimes this will trigger me, but there was no need to discuss it
Right. Right.
as we understood each other.
Did your husband at the time, his parents, did they share, your parents and his parents ever share stories, or was that almost like triggers for them to basically
No,
not want to relive it?
they were best friends.
Really?
They became best friends. They became like brother and sister to each other.
Really?
They were
That's beautiful.
extremely close.
That's beautiful.
Extremely. So yes, they obviously had that bond. If they talked about it much, here and there,
Okay.
but I don't think it was a constant subject that was discussed. I think they just had that understanding and that strong bond.
So how did that affect you? What did you bring from all that into your new marriage?
The
The good,
marriage
the
that I
bad,
had.
and the ugly.
So, being married to another child of Holocaust survivors, there is a lot that's just left unsaid and is understood. But there's also a lot of, and it's not intentional. It's just something that innately there's this, we can be easily triggered. We have a tendency to get sad. I think it's difficult when two people are very similar in that way, as opposed to being with somebody who could always lift you up.
Right.
To have two people that were so similar
Right.
in many ways because of our heritage and
Right.
where we both came from, that what started as something that made us strong and gave us a bond actually was what tore us apart, because it was just too. I think it was just too much. I think that we probably needed another type of energy in our life.
Okay. There was a lot of sadness and
Yeah,
minimizing the sunshine, when you probably
exactly.
looked into it. But you was blessed with children and
Yes.
stuff, and you had to overcome even more of a situation because now you have a child that is has a special needs. Explain how you dealt with that and still trying to mend your family, and you found out about your mom and dad. Take me down there.
So my son is on the spectrum of autism, and he's considered high functioning. He's now a singer songwriter. But when we first discovered of his differences, it was, I'm not going to lie, it was devastating at first. And I literally stayed in bed for 3 days and mourned, got over that, and decided that I was going to do everything in my power to make him, more, I guess, neurotypical,
Right.
and started, um, and I have to say that my ex-husband was wonderful with him as well, and actually also helped sort of start the ball rolling with getting him the right therapy. And we would have people come into the house every day
Mm-hmm.
to work with him, to make sure that he would get eye contact, to get him to talk, and this I have my father to thank, who actually alerted me to this new program. They saw in the newspaper, and we contacted the researchers and got him to be part of the beta programming that helped with his language skills. And so my mission
Right.
was to get him, to be able to be independent and thrive. And so where does that come from? I believe it's partially to do with my upbringing and being a descendant of survivors, that was instilled in me, so that I was going to make sure that I could do everything in my power to sort of, to get him to be the best that he could be. And when he was younger, he was almost like the poster child, because he had improved so significantly. And now he's he's a wonderful musician and songwriter. He's just great.
That's awesome. We was
Yeah.
You were sharing with me your passion to not repeat history, learn from history, and you shared with me a little bit of what's going on in the world and a little bit of how the situation with the war has affected you a little bit. Go down that a little bit so the viewers can understand just and the reason why I say this to the viewers is that when me and you was talking, history repeats itself when we don't address history and when we don't do things about it. And the first thing we need to not to understand is we have to address these issues head on how it's making us feel. And by the fact that you live with a family that really went through this, it
Yeah,
has to be touching you on what's going on in the world today. Give me your feelings on that a little bit.
absolutely. When, I woke up October 7th, looked on my phone, Israel declares war. I thought I was seeing things. And the more I learned, the more I found out what was going on. And in fact, to sum it up, on October 7th, there had not seen as many Jews killed since the Holocaust. There was over 1,000. I think now it's up to 1,300. I could be wrong, but that enormity of one, group of people to be slaughtered for the sole reason of the fact because they were Jews, it was unbelievable to me. We were taught with the slogan "Never again" that it happened. People didn't believe it was happening, but it happened, and that it will never happen again. And then I wake up October 7th to it happening again. How is that possible?
Mm.
How is this happening? So I'm taking away all political. The bottom line, it was about being Jewish. And that's what my parents went through, and nobody believed it was going to happen. Even they didn't believe it. They go into the cattle cars and think they were going to a camp where everything would be fine and dandy, not knowing that they would be incinerated or that their mothers and all their siblings. It's just that mindset. Like, oh my God, how could this be happening again? So yes, it triggered me big time. And I spoke out about it, and then I decided to hold back. My children begged me, stop talking about it, Mom, because you have a large following on social media. People feel different ways about things. So I stopped. I stopped for my children because they feared for me, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, it started happening in my city. It was Friday the 13th, October 13th, and we were told to be on alert that if you were Jewish, to be careful. Don't go to synagogue. Don't have anything overt showing who you are. I mean, what are we? In 1940 in
Right,
Poland?
right.
But what is going on? So yes, I did share that with you. That was very triggering, and in fact, history appears to be repeating itself. It is unbelievable, and yes, it's quite a shock.
I
And
appreciate you really voicing your opinion. It was um, very motivating. People need to understand we have the right to speak our voice and not be judged by how we feel. If our feelings does not cause hatred amongst each other, then feel free to speak your mind because we have to learn how everybody feels. I think the problem we run into, we fail to realize we all bleed red and we all are part of the human race, and we need to start understanding that and quit doing this senseless repeating of history again. But on a lighter note, once again, thanks for sharing that. That was really heartfelt. On a lighter note, let's talk about this ageism that you encountered. You're on a whole new journey with your life now. The 60s is the new sexy for you.
yeah, 60s is definitely the new sexy. Yeah, ageism. So this is how, in terms of social media, I had been on many platforms, but sort of went down the rabbit hole with TikTok and found myself scrolling. And one day decided, well, I think I'm going to make a little video. I had done little things here and there because I was a podcaster and whatnot and had things up there, but I had 70 followers. And then I did this little transition video where I used a filter and I said, I'm 64 years old at the time,
Right.
and this is what people expect me to look like. And it was an aging filter.
Right.
Instead of looking like this. And then I took off the filter and I looked like this. And yeah, when I went, yeah, I'm 64. This is what I look like.
Right.
So, you know, it was on a Sunday in the afternoon. I had guests coming over. I put my phone down. I hear ding, 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 ding. I don't know what's going on. Maybe something's wrong with my phone. And I look and I'm seeing there was like 300,000
You're going
views.
viral, baby.
I was going viral for being old. I was going viral because I was showing people that, hey, we don't all, you know, don't judge just because of a number. It's ridiculous. So, you know, from there, I started my journey of talking about age in a positive light. I talk about positive aging and aging well and aging gracefully, and, you know, just
when you was going viral, what was the age bracket of the people that was literally listening to your message?
It was mostly over 50.
Really?
And so it started on TikTok, and it has a huge community over 50 that people don't realize. Mm-hmm. So I was like starting this trend of, I wouldn't say starting it, but certainly realized that there was a lot of, I guess they're passive users of TikTok. They don't really create themselves, but they certainly view others. Yeah. And there was a huge community. And a lot of people started talking about, oh, I feel the same way, and da-da-da. And oh, I'm so glad you're saying that because that's how I feel. Or, you know, I lost my wife.
What were some of the things you were saying that people were relating to?
I think some of it was about the fact that, you know, that I do things scared, and I'm doing things that I've always wanted to do, and I've just decided I'm just going to go for it. But it's, you know, and I'm realizing that, oh my God, it really is never too late, and that we have all this wisdom, and how wonderful it is to know all that we know, but still have all this energy, you know, because 66 is the new 46 from 30, 40 years ago. We're healthier, we're more vibrant, we still have a lot that we want to do. And I think that's the mindset of baby boomers.
So tell the people basically, get out of your comfort zone. Don't be afraid. Be resilient.
Be resilient. Is it part of my background? Yes.
Yeah. So you brought a lot of your you brought a lot of your traumas, your happiness, everything into this platform, and all of a sudden it's viral like crazy. You're starting a whole new journey. Yeah, 66 or 60s is a whole new generation for you then.
Yeah, absolutely. And that trend also went and sort of overflowed onto Instagram, and then to Facebook, and, you know, on YouTube as well. And it was, I guess, a message that resonated with a lot of people. I think the timing was interesting because certainly here, if we had major shutdowns, you know, during COVID. So I think more people were online. It's just, again, the timing. And so, you know, it kind of worked. Right time, right place, right message.
Yeah.
And, you know, it became kind of how I make a living now as well. So
hey, there's nothing wrong with making a living at something you enjoy doing.
I love it. I have a passion for it. You know, I can scream from the hilltops. Never too late. You know, age is not my cage. So there's.
Before we wrap up, take the journey down the acting. You're an actor, actress, the whole 9 yards. Tell how did that evolve, and how's that going?
Yes, it evolved from doing voice work. I started as a voice actor. And from there, I started to take acting classes, started doing student films, short films, and starting now to do a little bit of features. I've also done, because Quebec is quite francophone, I've become part of the French union. So I've done a French feature film. I'm in a French series, but I speak English. So interestingly enough.
So you're multi-talented.
Well, and I also had a podcast during, so I love what you're doing. I myself was a podcaster.
Thank you.
And I know it's not easy, but it's a wonderful thing to be part of, and to, you know, to bring people on and have them, you know, speak their truth. It's great. I mean,
what's the name of your podcast?
So I'm no longer doing it, but it was called Esther's Breeze.
What was it about?
I was interviewing creatives. So I would have actors, directors, writers, comedians, they're my favorite,
Okay.
come on the show and just, we'd spend an hour talking and chatting and laughing. And I had a couple of, oh my God, I can't think of the word right now. There were other people as well, but yeah, the main gist of it were creatives.
Tell me
And
one of the most funniest parts of your acting career that you remember to this day, and you go, "Wow, that was really, really funny."
um, funny. That's interesting. I can't say that anything was really funny. I did have one of the first acting gigs that I got was doing one of these. It's like a Darfam type of film, and I was the replacement actress. The other actress had backed out. I had
Right.
24 hours. I didn't tell you this one, and basically, I had to learn all my lines in 24 hours.
Okay.
And the last scene, I just said to the director rather that I wasn't able to memorize everything. So they got this girl this large billboard and she wrote it out in markers and she held it up in front of me so that I could say my line. So yeah, that was kind of embarrassing but funny at the same time because these things happen. It was a last minute replacement.
And you use your resilience and all the stuff that you learned from your parents to make it through that particular moment of your life. How can the viewers reach out to you for support?
You can find me on Instagram at ESTIEB. You can find me on TikTok at Esther Brzezinski, ESTHER BRZEZINSKI. Same name for Facebook. And on YouTube, it's Esther's Breeze. And yeah, I'm on all 4 platforms.
Esther, leave the viewers with something positive. You've been through a lot. You've overcome. You definitely come from a family that knows the word resilience. My heart goes out to you and your family. Stay strong. Leave the viewers with something that you have to tell yourself daily.
You never know how strong you really are until you're put to the test, and you will be surprised at the resilience and strength that you have within. I think we all do. And if we're put to the test, we're there. We can do it. We can conquer it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton Show.